When you're looking at a piece of equipment that promises to move heavy stuff around a shop or warehouse, the first thing that pops into your head is the risk of spending money on something that looks solid on paper but ends up being a clunky nightmare on the floor. I've talked to a few shop owners, read a handful of forum threads, and even watched a couple of YouTube videos where folks try to lift a motor or a stack of pallets with the wrong tool. That's why I want to take a step back and walk you through what the Vestil MFM 4000 actually does for you in a real-world setting, not just the specs sheet. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of problem this lift tries to solve. In many small to mid-size workshops, you'll find a mix of heavy machinery, large crates, and sometimes even oddly shaped furniture that need to be repositioned occasionally, whether you're reconfiguring a production line, swapping out a CNC table, or moving a bulky filing cabinet into a new office space. The usual workarounds involve a forklift that's either too big for the interior space, a set of hand trucks that can't handle the weight, or a makeshift solution with plywood and manpower that ends up bruising the floor and your back. The Vestil MFM 4000 is marketed as a steel frame lift that can carry up to 4,000 pounds, with a nose plate that slides under the load and polyene steel casters that promise smooth rolling. That sounds promising, but let's break down what that looks like when you actually try to move a 2,500-pound industrial lathe across a concrete slab. The first practical strength I've seen is the simplicity of the nose plate mechanism. You drive the plate under the item, lock it in place, and the whole platform lifts. In a shop where you might have to move a piece of equipment several times a week, that quick slide-under action cuts down on the setup time dramatically compared to a traditional hoist that requires rigging a chain and a crane. The steel construction feels solid, you can hear the metal flexing only under a full load, which gives a reassuring sense that the frame isn't going to bend or wobble. The polyene steel casters are another point where the design shines. Unlike rubber tires that can pick up debris or get stuck on small obstacles, these casters roll over dust, small gravel, and even the occasional oil spot without skidding. In a shop that's constantly cleaning up metal shavings and coolant spills, that is a genuine convenience. Now, let's look at the practical weaknesses that tend to show up after you bring the lift into a daily routine. The platform measures 15 inches wide by about 27 inches deep, which makes it great for round or compact loads but can be a tight fit for anything wider than a standard pallet. If you need to move a wide piece of machinery, you'll either have to shim the load or risk an uneven weight distribution that can cause the lift to tip. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you need to be mindful of the dimensions before you commit. Another consideration is the height of the lift itself. When the platform is fully lowered, the bottom of the nose plate sits just a few inches above the ground, which is fine on a flat concrete floor but can be problematic if the surface is uneven or if you're working over a thin layer of paint that could be scratched. Some users have reported that the metal rollers, while smooth, can be a little noisy on metal and metal contact, especially when the load is near the maximum capacity. In a quiet office setting, that could be a distraction. Who should consider buying the Vestil MFM 4000? If you run a small to medium workshop that frequently needs to reposition heavy equipment, especially when space is limited and a traditional forklift can't maneuver, this lift is a solid middle ground. It's also a good fit for contractors who handle heavy crates on job sites that have concrete pads but not a full-scale loading dock. The 4,000-pound rating gives you enough headroom to handle most industrial tools without worrying about hitting a hard limit, and the steel build means you won't have to replace the lift after a few months of heavy use. On the other hand, if your primary need is to move standard pallets on a regular basis, a pallet jack or a dedicated forklift, even a small electric one, might be more efficient. Likewise, if your shop has a lot of uneven flooring, carpeted areas, or you need to lift very wide objects, you'll find the dimensions of the MFM 4000 restrictive. One of the hidden trade-offs that I've seen pop up in the conversations of other shop owners is the balance between versatility and specialization. The MFM 4000 excels at one-off moves where you need a stable platform that you can trust not to bend under a heavy load, but it doesn't replace a full-featured material handling system. Think of it as a specialized tool in a larger